Okay, welcome back, guys, to another video. Today's topic is going to be a bit heavier. We are going to talk today about the kids of narcissistic parents, what they go through, and how we can help. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you aren't the narcissistic parent, but maybe it is your spouse or your partner, or you maybe have a niece or nephew and you know that they have a narcissistic parent. Let's talk today about what these children are experiencing. Hello, if you are new here, my name is Shonda Nicole, and I welcome you if you're new. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. I hope that these videos are helpful. We're trying to become healed and whole on this channel. I really want to make sure that in each and every video that you are receiving value. So I pray for what I need to talk about and who these videos need to reach. So let's get into this one, because today's topic it's kind of heavy. To me, it's heavier because the children can't stand up for themselves oftentimes, and especially if these children are growing up in a religious home, a Christian home, even a Muslim home, where the parent, especially the father, is very dominant. These children cannot speak up. They cannot express how they're feeling to their parent. There simply is no room for that. So because they cannot stand up for themselves, that's why, to me, this is a much more dire situation, and it's a lot harder to deal with, because they can't just take action on their own without serious repercussions. So one of the things that is obvious with a narcissistic parent is they have very low self-esteem. Well, you know what? Actually, I won't say that is obvious, because if you're dealing with a grandiose narcissist, they will come off as having it all together. And underneath the surface, they are just a scared, fragile child. But on the flip side, if you're dealing with a covert narcissist, one who comes off as being the victim all of the time, then maybe in that case, their low self-esteem is more evident. But no matter which type of narcissist you're dealing with, they have very low self-esteem. They do not know who they are. They don't like who they are. And so they are constantly seeking validation from other people, even their children. Their self-esteem is so fragile and so low that they rely on their children to soothe them. They rely on their children to prop them up. They have an insatiable desire to be praised and admired and adored. They often want to be considered by the child as the favorite parent. So oftentimes they will put down the other parent because they want to be known as, well, I'm the good parent. I'm the parent that's always here for you. There's a lot of manipulation that goes on, because there's a lot of telling the child of how much the parent has done for them. And it makes the child feel like a burden. Oftentimes, it can also make the child feel as if, well, I have to do everything you say because I owe you so much. And a lot of times these parents, they cannot be pleased. They are the type of parents that always find everything that's wrong, but they never find the things that the child does right. So you see how their low self-esteem the child can quickly take on that low self-esteem when they're constantly told everything that they do wrong. These parents often nitpick in finding the things that the child does wrong, and then are never told that hey, that was a good job. You did well on that. Or if they're told, it's kind of like in a dismissive way. Because, believe it or not, these parents actually compete with their children. They actually, if, for example, I've lived through this experience. If the parent is a musician and the child is musically inclined, the parent has to let it be known that they are the better musician. And I have seen it where the child actually is so good and just raw talent that they are quickly in their teenage years even starting to supersede the musical ability of the parent. But that if anyone even mentions how good the child is, that parent will go off and or have to take credit. Well, I taught them everything they know, but they still got a little ways to go. They're still not that good. They will downplay it because they have to always be on top. They have to be better than even their children. They even compare themselves to their children. I mean, how sick is that? Most healthy people, normal people, they want their children to go farther than they did, to do better than they did, to have more, be able to accomplish more than they did. That's the healthy parent, and they set their child up for that success. The narcissistic parent, no. You can only go but so high, and they want to control how high you can go, how far you can go, because in their sick, twisted, demented minds, they always have to keep you in your place. And that is part of this whole thing of they're such low self-esteem people that they even compete with their own children. You will also notice that to keep a child in their place, never letting them feel like they are getting, too uppity or too, as, folks say, smelling themselves. They will also, I have seen this, they will also only do the bare minimum when it comes to supplying the kids' basic needs. I'm talking basic needs, food and clothing, meaning when it comes to food, the kids will get hot dogs, off-brand hot dogs and baked beans and have to eat that for a week while the parent can eat steak and lobster and pasta and fancy dishes. I have seen it where children have been made to eat food with no nutritional value, the cheapest junk that you can find, while the parent, when they shop for themselves, there's no limit. I've seen the same thing with clothing. Children that they only get clothes that are worn. They can be hand-me-downs or from the thrift store, but in bad condition, because there's nothing wrong with you find a good, item at the thrift store and it's in great condition. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm talking about the children looking as if they are not being cared for. The clothes are too small. They have holes in them. They won't pay for, haircuts and if daughters to get their hair done, but then they will spend $200 on their locks and getting their retwist in a style or whatever. It gets really, really upsetting and unnerving the way these children are treated. And then if the children try to speak up and say, well, why can you eat this and we always have to eat that? They're told how ungrateful they are. They're, made to feel like they're a burden. I do so much for you. You don't appreciate anything. And it is really toxic. And these children hear these messages over and over and over. So they obviously are going to internalize it. Well, I am nothing but a burden. And their esteem is low because they're always told what they do wrong. They're always told that they're a burden. They're always manipulated into thinking they're ungrateful. They're always kept at a certain level in terms of their skills and their talents and the things that God has gifted them with. They're always told, but you're not as good as I am, and you're not going to go as far as I do. And they won't spend any money to pour into those children their raw talents and abilities. They won't pay for lessons. They won't pay, for their kids, if they're gifted in sports, to play sports, team sports. That's too expensive. It's too expensive. The uniforms are too expensive. The fees to belong are too expensive. But then when it comes to them, Money's not an issue. It really is sick. And then you have their high need for control. These parents have to be in such control over these children that the children, in the narcissist's mind, the children aren't even their own being, their own person with their own mind and their own will. In the narcissist's mind, they're just an extension of the narcissist. It is so crazy and sick, because what that prevents the child from doing is ever having their own dreams and their own hopes and what they, want to do and accomplish. The parent wants to dictate everything. So if the parent always wanted to be a basketball star, then the child has to play basketball. Even if the kid hates basketball, he'll have him out there practicing. Now, he's not going to pay for him to get any, good coaching, but he'll have to be out there practicing in the yard for 2 hours a day. Things like that. Or if the child says, I want to move away, I want to go to this college. If that is not what the narcissist wants, that child will be shut down. And their feelings are dismissed. Because after all, you're only a kid. What do you know? The narcissist knows everything. They know how you should feel. They know how you should think. You should think like they think. You should feel like they feel. You can't be your own person. And that is just wrong. That these children are meant to feel like what I'm thinking and feeling doesn't count. Just because I'm your child. And it doesn't even matter. These kids can be 15, 16 years old, and the parent, the narcissistic parent, still won't give any credence or any validity or even hear out how a child thinks and feels, even into the later teenage years. Because in their mind, you're always a kid. And you always have to, you always going to have to do what they say. It is really, it gets really disturbing. I've seen where the children are just treated as slaves. They're just treated as to-do boys and girls. They're to any whim of the narcissistic parent. That parent won't even get up to go get the remote, get me the remote, take the trash out, just barking orders. The children are just there to serve them. And then to soothe them and prop up their ego and then tell them how wonderful they are, when they really treat the children awfully. But especially in Christian homes, religious homes, children are taught to respect their parents. They're taught that the father is the head of the household. So if the narcissist is the father, can you imagine how awful that is? Because you dare not speak against him. He's the head of the household. He's leading the family. You have to respect him, even if he does things that are awful and not worthy of respect. They often continue to lecture the kids. They lecture for hours because, again, they know everything. And you're just an empty airhead that they need to direct and tell them each and every little thing to do. You have no mind of your own. You have no will of your own. You can't think through anything. They don't give you that much credit. So these relationships are really dismissive. There's no boundaries. They don't see where they end and you begin. They will be over involved in a very unhealthy way in the child's life, telling the child everything they should do. And if you, as a child, say you don't want to do that, then get ready. They will cut you off financially. Because remember, with a narcissist, everything is a transaction. Everything is conditional. So if you don't do as they say, if you don't do what they want you to do, if you don't think like they want you to think, then they will cut off money. I've seen money be cut off while the child is away in college and needs money, for meals and books. They will cut off finances. They won't take phone calls. They will disown you until you come to your senses in their mind and tell them how right they were, how wrong you were, how they should have listened to you. And that makes the child become a people pleaser. Because they know if they are going to get along with their parent at all, they have to always give in. They have to always give in. They cannot be their own person. So these children need a lot of prayer and support, because if they're younger, obviously they have, what can they do? And as they get older, when they start to take a stand with that narcissistic parent and try to exert themselves a little bit, they have to be ready for what's going to be on the flip side. So these children really, they need your help. They need your support. Again, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you're not the narcissistic parent. So affirming that God created them in His image, not in the image of their parent, and that they are fearfully and wonderfully made. And He's given them a great mind, and He knows He has a great plan for them, a plan to prosper them and not to harm them, and that they were put here for a purpose, God's purpose, not the parent's purpose. See, all of these things we have to instill in them and remind them, because otherwise they will suffer with low self-esteem, not knowing who they are, being a people pleaser, and it's not going to ever they'll never be happy. And if they're always under the thumb of this parent, they'll never be free. Everybody wants to be happy and free. They're free in Christ. So how dare this human being who is so fragile and, I dare say, influenced demonically, take that freedom from them? So you see, guys, I know you can see just from my emotion in this video, this is one of the things that really gets under my skin, to see parents taking advantage of their children. Children are never put here to soothe you and to prop up your ego and for you to live your unfulfilled dreams through. And they're not here to be controlled. They're not slaves. They're people that deserve love and happiness and freedom and everything that God has placed them on this earth to do and be. So if you know a child in this situation, encourage them in the Lord, love on them, because their life is not easy. Look, I hope this one helps somebody. And as always, prayer requests are welcome. Happy to pray for anybody. I know this one was a little bit heavier today, but it's one of the things that we need to talk about because it's happening all the time. All right. I love you guys. Take care until the next one. Bye.